Welcome to Am I the Bad Guy? Am I the bad guy for screaming at my pregnant fiancé for not helping me find my dog who had run off? My fiancé, 28 female, is currently 5 months pregnant and has been both fatigued and nauseous lately. I get why she didn't want to help me look for the dog, but I can't get over the lack of empathy and bordering selfish behaviour of this either. My dog, 6-year-old Heeler Corgi Mix, runs off at least once a week. Usually my fiancé will help me find her, but it's not without protest. I honestly didn't even know how she was getting out of our fenced yard, so I installed cameras and found out that she was scaling the 8-foot fence. I ended up attaching spinners to the top of the fence, thinking that would solve the issue, but it didn't. I brought her out today and was playing with her when my phone rang. I was inside just long enough to grab my phone, and my dog had gone out. I immediately went in search for her, thinking she couldn't have gotten far, but I couldn't find her anywhere, so I went back to the house and asked my fiancé, who was curled up on the sofa, to come help me. She immediately said no. She said she was tired of chasing the dog, that she isn't dealing with it anymore, and that I should have been out there watching her. I explained to her that I'd been watching her and simply stepped away for 0.2 seconds to grab my phone just inside the sliding door and she'd escaped. She again said it wasn't her problem and she's not exhausting herself anymore to search for my dog. I won't even say it was unexpected because, as I said in the past, she's always had a problem with helping me search, but she's never said no, she just complained about it. At first, I went and searched myself. After maybe half hour, I came back and asked her again to come help me, and she snapped. I said no. I'm so tired of chasing that dog around multiple times a week, and I'm already exhausted and throwing up constantly. I was panicked and unleashed some yelling, which involved me telling her she was a B-word who lacked empathy, and that I was thoroughly disappointed with my decision to be with someone so heartless. It was out of pure fear and panic on my part, and I did apologize later after I found my dog, but she said go F yourself, and now she won't talk to me. Am I the bad guy? Everyone's on my side except my sister, who says I am the bad guy, because it's not my pregnant fiance's responsibility to chase round your mutt, and said she would have left immediately if her boyfriend ever said what I did to her. Well. I get that it is frustrating that your dog is getting out, but you're the bad guy. Like, she's 5 months pregnant. She's throwing up, she's not well, all of these things, and you're thinking she's just gonna come and chase your dog like once a week, and she said multiple times a week, and I don't know if that's out of anger or it is a bit more than once a week. You're the bad guy, definitely. You don't talk to someone like that, and there's no need. Like, train your dog, man. Like, I get it, it's 6 years old now, so it's a little bit, but you can still train it, and if you're not prepared to train it, like, rehome it then if you don't want to train it. I don't know what else to say. You're the bad guy. This is ridiculous. Am I the bad guy for grounding my daughter for leaving her sister with the neighbor? I'm the single mum of 3 kids. Polly, 16 female, Trevor, 12 male, and Cassie, 8 female. I have little to no support. Their father left after Cassie was born, no family nearby. I have 2 sitters that I can call on as needed, and I use them before I'd ever ask Polly for help. I don't want her missing out on her teenage years. Before this incident, I only ever asked her to babysit once because I had no one else and I paid her $15 an hour, at the time, way above minimum wage. This past Saturday, Polly was due to hang out with some friends. For a couple of days, Trevor was ill but testing negative for COVID. That day, he spiked a very high fever and I had to take him to the ER. I asked Polly to watch Cassie as the sitters weren't responding. I apologized that she'd have to miss out on time with her friends, but said I'd pay her and she could even have her friends over our place. Polly pitched a fit and asked why I couldn't send Cassie to the neighbors. We don't know them. They moved in last month, and outside of waving when we get our mail, I don't have a relationship with them. Polly was irritated. I told her I'd pay her $18 an hour and I had to go. I take Trevor to the ER and we have to wait a bit. Polly kept asking if the sitters responded, and they hadn't. Eventually, it was our time to be seen, so I told Polly I'd be out of reach for a bit. Turns out Trevor had a bad case of RSV, and due to pre-existing health problems, had to be admitted for the night. I was terrified. When I called Polly to update her, I heard people talking in the background and said, "Oh, you had your friends come over." She told me no. She dropped Cassie at the neighbours and went out. I was furious. I told her to go home and to get her sister. I then asked for the neighbour's number. She didn't even ask for it. Which, I get teenage logic, but still. At first, Polly refused until I told her she was grounded. I made her FaceTime me when she got home to show that Cassie was with her. Eventually, my mum was able to make the 2-hour drive down to stay with the girls, but I told her to not let Polly leave the house. The next day, Trevor and I were able to go home. I lectured Polly about what she did and grounded her for 2 weeks. She got mad at me and said that I can't expect her to drop her plans. I point out that I never do this, but this was an emergency and her brother was sick. She told me that that's not her problem. She's also mad because I won't pay her now. I apologized profusely to the neighbor who said it was okay and that he would have called me, but Polly didn't leave my number either. Polly said I overreacted. Am I the bad guy? Of course you are not the bad guy. This is ridiculous. This is a silly, trivial post. Of course you're not the bad guy. You know, you never expect your daughter to do anything. You know, you don't expect her to babysit, etc., etc. And just this one time, she'd have had to cancel plans, but you were paying her. You know, you're not the bad guy. It's very obvious, very simple. This is silly. Am I the bad guy for telling my fiancé that my friend's trauma is more important than her comfort? My best friend lost a parent a year and a half ago, which led him to a mental health crisis. Our friend group has been picking up the pieces ever since. He's doing much better now that he's in therapy, but he's definitely gone through it. What has complicated matters worse is my fiancée. It goes without saying that I love her, but she is the definition of a busybody sometimes. My best friend is a very private person. She knows something happened with him, but she doesn't know the details of what that something is. She probably never will. But because she's around me and my friends often, as my fiancé and I live in the same house, she hears bits and pieces of the story and presses for more information. I try to circumvent this as best as I can. For example, I step out of the room for specific phone conversations, but still, it's hard to limit the discussion about it sometimes. If it's necessary, we bring it up and she's around in person, we'll refer to the Nolan situation without giving specifics. Nolan will also stop by my place at night when he can't sleep. This doesn't happen all that often, maybe twice a month. He'll text me or call me saying he's outside. I'll go sit with him and maybe smoke a little bit, then he'll head home. I'll wait up until I know he got home safely and then I go back to sleep. My fiancée hates this. She claims the phone calls always wake her up. They don't, she just sometimes happens to wake up for the bathroom while I'm outside, and that me not being in bed is alarming. This brings us to last night. Nolan stopped by, and when I came back inside, my fiancée said she was putting a stop to it. She said all the sneaking around is making her paranoid. She doesn't feel like she can properly trust me or be part of my friend group without knowing the details, and that Nolan needs to stop relying on me so much. Am I the bad guy? There's an edit here, so... She knows Nolan lost a parent. She doesn't know the aftermath beyond the statement he had a mental health crisis. Yes, he has specifically asked me not to tell her. And then there's a second edit as well. This is not something we talk about constantly in front of her. I'm giving examples that have happened over the past year and a half. Also, Nolan sees a therapist. He comes to my place to hang out. I'd say it's a difficult one, but you probably are the bad guy. Now, I don't want it to be as harsh as that because I think it's a very difficult situation. But that being said, it must be very difficult to be secluded from all of this, you know? When you meet up with your friends and you're all together, your fiancé must feel so isolated, you know, not privy to every conversation that happens within the group, and I don't think that's very fair. Now, the reason it's so difficult is because obviously it's completely within your friend's right to who knows this information, you know, who gets told about this information. But it's become quite a big part of your life, and obviously she is quite a big part of your life, and I just don't think that it's fair to completely cut that off and not let her in. Oh, it's a very difficult situation. So I want to say you're the bad guy, but it's not as harsh as that. You know, it's not as simple as that, and it's a very difficult situation. Man, I do want to say about these edits though. I feel like you've posted in this subreddit, and then you're editing what you have written to make yourself seem better, which seems a little bit sketchy. So I don't know about that, but that's just me being a bit paranoid, I guess. But you know, you've said everything in this post, and then you've come back to edit based on the reaction. I don't know. Just food for thought, I guess. So there's a comment here, and I don't normally do this, but there is a comment here from user Snakes in Your Pants, um, where he has said something here. He said, add in OP's comment about the timeline of the relationship, and it's so much worse. They've been together only 2 years. He proposed a month before Nolan's parent died, and apparently Nolan hasn't even let her get to know him through small talk or anything. She's been very excluded from anything to do with Nolan. So from her perspective, you meet this guy, you two really hit it off, true love at first sight. You're only together for 5 months, he proposes. Wow, maybe a little scary to jump straight into it like this, but you love him, so you're so excited. He has a group of friends who like you for the most part, but there's this one guy who completely ices you out. He doesn't seem okay with you. Now, that's fine, not all our partner's friends are going to love us, but then a month later you hear that Nolan's parents died. Now, whenever you walk into the room, when the group is over, they all shush each other, talking hushed voices. The only thing you hear them referring to is the Nolan situation. It's getting a bit weird, you know? It's a really good post. It's a very long post, so I won't read it all out, but it's interesting to hear to read this because this is right, you know? It's almost gaslighty if you think about it the way that this user has summed it up. It's very weird, and you know he's edited it to say so the original OP has edited it to say that she does know that his parent died. Also, then what's the Nolan situation? Surely that's it. But there's obviously something else that's happened. It's very this yeah. This adds a bit more fuel to the fire, if anything. Thank you for watching.